I don't want to, Dad, Yin shouted in frustration, her lips pouting as she scowled, her eyebrows furrowed, and she gazed at her parents with a pleading look. But why, sweetheart? Jungkook is a good man. He's the ideal son-in-law, and his position in our organization is strong. Everyone respects and fears him. Mrs. Park tried to persuade her daughter to accept the arranged marriage they had planned. That's right. If you marry him, none of our enemies will dare harm you. You know how powerful his family is, Mr. Park added, repeatedly coaxing his stubborn daughter. Oh, so that's your reason, Dad? Does that mean you're incapable of protecting me yourself? Isn't our family highly respected too? As far as I know, no one has dared to challenge us so far, Yin retorted, still refusing to accept the arrangement. Our family is strong. That's exactly why I want someone equally strong to be your husband. Jungkook is the perfect match for you, sweetheart. Yin's parents intended to arrange her marriage to the son of their close friend, Jeon Jungkook. Yin and Jungkook had known each other for years. They had been classmates in high school, not as friends but as rivals, constantly competing and arguing rather than talking amicably. During their university years, Yin and Jungkook coincidentally enrolled in the same college, even choosing the same major. This only intensified their rivalry. Both became campus stars, one the ideal beauty admired by male students, the other the handsome heartthrob of the female population. Both were brilliant, accomplished, and well-connected. Now, at just 26 years old, they were already successors to their respective family businesses, an achievement many envied. What's so great about him? He's so annoying, Yin grumbled. And why suddenly arrange a marriage? Don't you trust me to choose for myself? Mr. Park shook his head with a faint smile. They were well aware of Yin and Jungkook's turbulent history. Even in family gatherings, the two never hid their disdain for each other. We trust you, but we just want the best for you. You've never gotten to know Jungkook properly, which is why you find him annoying. Try opening your heart and having a proper conversation. He's the right man for you. How could they have a proper conversation? Every time they met, they exchanged icy glares, Yin thought bitterly. Sweetheart, as the successor, it's only fitting for you to have a partner who's your equal. Not to look down on other men, but it would be hard for someone else to match your mindset and lifestyle, her mother explained. Jungkook is smart, just like you. He's decisive and authoritative, making him a supportive partner. In your marriage, neither of you would feel overshadowed. Yin was taken aback by her mother's words. As a woman and now the heir to her father's company, not to mention being part of a mafia family, Yin had been raised to be firm and strong, which made her a dominant personality. She liked being in control and hated losing. Deep down, she realized she needed someone who could temper her ego. If her husband were weaker than her, she feared she might end up being unfair to him. She needed someone her equal or even superior. When it comes to love, it will grow over time. You don't need to worry about that, her mother added. Letting out a sigh, Yin closed her eyes. She felt drained and conflicted, her mind in turmoil. But why does it have to be Jungkook? She asked softly. Mr. Park looked at his daughter with care. He understood her exhaustion. He had once been in her shoes. Because he's the best man for you, and our families know each other well. He comes from a family equal to ours. Even if it's hard at first, I'm confident you and Jungkook will get through it. You just need to open your hearts and accept each other. Seeing no way to refuse, Yin finally nodded in resignation. Fine then, I'll marry Jungkook. Her answer brought relieved smiles to her parents' faces. Mom, why does it have to be Yin? Isn't there someone prettier and nicer than her? Jungkook asked in frustration. It's precisely because Yin is beautiful and respectable. She's also kind, polite, and hardworking. She's a perfect match for you, Mrs. Jeon replied, her sharp gaze fixed on her son, who was now massaging his temples. Jungkook huffed. Yin was indeed beautiful. He couldn't deny that. She was hardworking and polite to everyone, except him. But she was quick-tempered. How could a household survive if they ended up arguing every day? Is there really no other woman? You know my relationship with her isn't good. We're not even close enough to be called friends, Jungkook complained. Exactly, and that's why marriage will bring you closer and help you understand each other. I believe you both can make it work, his father said firmly. What if our marriage falls apart before we even understand each other? Jungkook challenged. Then don't let it fall apart, his mother retorted nonchalantly. Why are you thinking about failure before even starting? She added, scoffing at him. You've always been a boss and a leader, Jungkook. How can you be this pessimistic before even trying? Everyone fears and respects you. Are you telling me you can't handle one woman? She continued, her tone dripping with mockery. Jungkook groaned in frustration. His mother's logic made no sense. Why was she comparing his professional life to his personal one? They were entirely different. At work, Jungkook had years of experience, allowing him to minimize risks. But relationships? That was uncharted territory for him. He had never been able to make Yin submit to him, even now. That's exactly why you shouldn't match me with Yin, Jungkook pleaded softly, hoping his mother would relent. He knew his mother held the final say. If she agreed, his father would follow suit without question. His father adored his mother so much that he always indulged her whims. I want Yin to be my daughter-in-law, no one else. I'm absolutely certain about that girl. There's no one else who's equal to or worthy of being your wife but her, Mrs. Jeon said firmly, leaving no room for argument. Jungkook sighed deeply. What on earth had Yin done to make his parents so adamant about marrying him off to her? He grumbled silently. But I don't love her. Jungkook tried again, his voice tinged with desperation. Oh please, love will come naturally once you're living together, especially after you've made love. I guarantee you'll fall for her instantly, his mother quipped bluntly. Jungkook's and Mr. Jeon's faces instantly turned crimson. As men, they couldn't help but feel slightly called out, though they couldn't entirely deny it either. Clearing his throat, Mr. Jeon spoke up. Your mom is right. Love can grow over time. When your mom and I got married, we didn't love each other at first either, but after we made love, Jungkook interjected with a sarcastic yet amused tone. After we lived together, Jungkook, don't reduce marriage to just bedroom matters. There are many other aspects of married life that made your mom and I fall in love and become inseparable, his father replied firmly, though he sneaked a playful wink at his wife, making her blush. Jungkook rolled his eyes in exasperation. It seemed there was no way out of this. His parents were determined to pair him with Yin. Whatever Yin had done to win them over, it had worked. Resisting was futile. He knew how steadfast his parents' principles were. Letting out a harsh sigh, Jungkook finally gave in. Fine, I hope this is the right decision. I'll marry Yin. 1 month later, their wedding took place. Both Yin and Jungkook left all the wedding arrangements to their parents. Neither of them wanted to deal with organizing a ceremony they didn't even want in the first place. Their mothers, however, were more than thrilled, insisting that Yin and Jungkook just focus on their work. But leaving everything entirely to their mothers turned out to be a mistake. Both Yin and Jungkook sighed in exhaustion as they had to greet an overwhelming number of guests. Their hands and feet ached from shaking hands with each and every attendee. The decorations were extravagant and filled with flowers. Meanwhile, Jungkook and Yin had wanted a simpler wedding, just a small, meaningful ceremony with a few guests. A simple yet elegant decoration would have sufficed. But of course, Mrs. Jeon and Mrs. Park would never allow an ordinary wedding for their only children. Jungkook glanced at Yin, who was smiling by his side. Even though it was forced, they had to remain professional and act the part of a happy couple. Your teeth might dry out if you keep smiling like that, Jungkook teased. Yin's smile vanished instantly, and she shot him a sharp glare. After all, this man had officially been her husband for only 2 hours. If it weren't for the reputation of my company and my parents, I wouldn't even bother smiling next to you like this, Yin retorted sharply. Jungkook chuckled smugly. So, should I thank you for being such a gracious and smiling wife? After all, it's helping save my company's reputation too. Irritated, Yin stomped on Jungkook's foot, even though he was wearing shoes. Jungkook winced in pain. She was wearing sharp 12 cm heels. You'd better shut up, Yin hissed quietly. 2 hours into marriage, and you're already resorting to violence, Jungkook muttered in annoyance. A wife only resorts to violence when her husband acts annoying, Yin replied nonchalantly. Where's that rule written? Jungkook grumbled under his breath, earning another sharp glare from Yin. But Yin chose to stay silent this time as yet another guest approached to congratulate them. Her neutral expression quickly turned into a sweet smile, not for Jungkook, her husband, but for the guests coming their way. Jungkook glanced at her and scoffed quietly. His wife was truly skilled at playing a role and wearing a mask. After the wedding, Jungkook immediately brought Yin to live in a luxurious house gifted by his parents. Not only did their parents gift them the house, but they also hired several maids to take care of it, overjoyed by the union. They knew Yin and Jungkook were busy and wouldn't have time to handle mundane chores like cleaning. As they entered the house, Jungkook turned around and gave Yin a blank look. I'll be sleeping in the master bedroom, he said, pausing briefly before continuing, and you can pick whichever other room you'd like to sleep in. Yin frowned, still trying to process his words. What do you mean? She asked. Jungkook let out a cynical chuckle, crossing his arms casually. You don't think we're going to share a bedroom and spend our wedding night like a normal married couple, do you? Yin froze in shock, but she quickly composed her expression. So, Jungkook wanted them to sleep separately? Out of nowhere, a dull ache tugged at her heart. Her parents had repeatedly reminded her to try opening her heart to him as the first step toward building a harmonious family. But what was she facing now? A cold, emotionless mafia heir with no regard for her feelings. We won't have any kind of relationship or interaction like two people in love because, let's face it, we don't love each other, Jungkook continued nonchalantly. We're only married because our parents wanted it, and we live together. That's all. We can go about our lives separately. Isn't that how it should be, Yin? Yin's eyes stung as they welled up with unshed tears. It was true. They were married because of an arrangement, and no, they didn't love each other. But after agreeing to this marriage, even reluctantly, Yin had wanted to give it a chance. She had been willing to open her heart to Jungkook and try to live as a proper husband and wife, building a family together. To Yin, marriage was a once-in-a-lifetime commitment. As long as she could, she would fight for it. But before she could even begin, Jungkook had crushed that hope. As a wife, his words stung deeply. Lifting her head high, Yin forced herself to remain strong. Her fiery gaze met Jungkook's cold one. She couldn't let him see her as weak, not now. Do you think I want to share a bedroom with you? I'm actually relieved we're sleeping separately. At least I won't have to see your face all the time. Just so you know, even now, I feel like throwing up just being in front of you. You're the most disgusting man I've ever known, got it? She shot back icily. Before her tears could fall, Yin stormed off, entering the nearest bedroom and slamming the door shut behind her. The sound made Jungkook flinch. What a rude, ill-tempered woman. She's never changed. Her tongue has always been sharper than a blade. Jungkook muttered under his breath, unwilling to stir up further trouble this late at night. Damn it. Yin clenched her fists tightly. Jungkook, that bastard. He thinks he can do whatever he wants. Well, so can I, she muttered angrily. She stared at her reflection in the mirror. Her face looked fierce, almost unrecognizable. Slowly, the tears she had been holding back finally fell, though without a single sob. Yin gazed pityingly at the woman in the mirror. This isn't the kind of marriage I dreamed of, she whispered painfully. Exhaling repeatedly, Yin tried to calm herself. She quickly stripped off her clothes, preparing to take a bath. She needed a warm soak to relax her body and clear her mind. If Jungkook didn't want her, then she wouldn't let him into her heart either. Wiping away her tears roughly, Yin spoke to her reflection with a bitter smirk. I'll give you 1 month, Jungkook. If you don't change within that time, get ready to lose everything. I'll divorce you. And if my parents forbid it, then I'll find another way, even if it means killing you. With those words hanging in the air, she stepped into the bathroom, leaving the cold tension behind. The atmosphere at the dining table was extremely quiet. Yin and Jungkook had breakfast together, but both remained silent. They didn't avoid each other. Neither of them wanted to show weakness by staying away from the other. To them, anyone who tried to avoid face-to-face interaction was not ready, and that was a weakness. So, just like now, they continued eating together. If anyone didn't want to eat, they could leave. The one who stayed was the one with the most dominance and power. They ate in silence. Only the clinking of spoons and forks against plates could be heard. Neither Jungkook nor Yin wanted to start a conversation. The maids working there exchanged confused glances, puzzled by their employer's behavior. Newlyweds were usually affectionate, sticking together. But why were they acting like strangers? But as always, they dared not ask. No one knew about them sleeping separately, as the maids were prohibited from going to the second floor without permission from either Yin or Jungkook. After a brief glance at Yin, Jungkook got up and left without saying a word. Yin huffed, pausing her chewing for a moment. Then, she shrugged indifferently and continued eating without a care. Hey, newlywed, why does your face look so messed up? Bam Bam teased, a friend and also Jungkook's secretary. Jungkook clicked his tongue, not responding, and slumped into his large chair. Bam Bam approached, curious about the newlywed. Why wasn't there any happiness after the wedding? So, no first night? Or did Yin have her period? So you guys missed out on it? Watch your words, Bam Bam, Jungkook warned sharply. Bam Bam grinned, though he had been friends with Jungkook since college. Sometimes he was scared when Jungkook acted intimidating. Besides, newlyweds are supposed to have bright faces. They've legally tasted heaven on earth over and over again. Not like you, who looks like you didn't get any, Bam Bam rambled. Annoyed, Jungkook threw a book from his desk at Bam Bam's face, making Bam Bam wince but also laugh. Enough, get to work. I didn't pay you to comment on my marriage. Bam Bam raised his hands in surrender, though his lips still trembled trying to hold in his laughter. He quickly left the room before his boss got even angrier and his salary got cut. Jungkook closed his eyes and leaned back in his chair, a strange feeling settling in his heart. Suddenly, He felt guilty for asking Yin to sleep separately. Had he gone too far last night? But his wife seemed fine, even though Jungkook noticed the sad and hurt look in her eyes when she sharply spoke to him. Usually, he only saw a sharp gaze from her, but last night, her eyes were different. And damn it, the look in her eyes kept replaying in his mind, from last night until now, completely disrupting his concentration. But ego and pride still dominated Jungkook. Trying to push away the uncomfortable feeling, Jungkook began to distract himself with a pile of documents in front of him. 4 days later. Tomorrow Sunday, there is an invitation to gather at my cousin's house, Jungkook said as they had just finished breakfast. What's the event? Yin asked flatly. Jungkook shrugged indifferently. It's just a casual get-together to get to know each other better. All of my cousins will be there. Do we have to go? Yin raised an eyebrow, clearly not enthusiastic about the invitation. If you want them to think our marriage isn't doing well, then we don't have to go. Besides, my parents will be there too. If we don't show up, we'll have to prepare ourselves to listen to their advice and lectures, Jungkook replied. Yin snorted in frustration. Then we'll go. I don't want your cousins to suspect anything, and I'm too lazy to deal with your parents' lectures, she said coldly. Jungkook nodded in agreement. Honestly, he was also tired of hearing lectures from his own parents. The day finally arrived. The atmosphere in the car was cold. That afternoon, Yin and Jungkook were on their way to Jungkook's cousin's house. Jungkook preferred driving the car himself instead of having his personal driver. Since it wasn't a formal event, Yin wore casual clothes suitable for a laid-back gathering. It was still modest, though slightly revealing at the shoulders. After a week of living together, nothing had changed in their behavior. Their interactions were minimal. Even talking to each other could be counted on one hand. Yin stared out the side window, lost in thought. This was their first time in the car together, but it felt no different. She still felt alone and lonely even though Jungkook was sitting next to her. On the other hand, Jungkook felt strange about the situation. For some reason, he felt uncomfortable. Seeing Yin remain silent made him feel out of place. Before marriage, they used to argue, but now there was nothing, not even a word between them. What's worse, Jungkook realized that Yin didn't see him as an enemy anymore, but as if he didn't even exist, as though he were invisible despite sitting right next to her. Yin was completely ignoring him, and that feeling was unpleasant. To be honest, he preferred Yin the way she was before their marriage, when she always acknowledged his presence, even though they fought, unlike now. He wanted to start a conversation, but he didn't know where to begin. Suddenly, Yin gasped in shock. Her body lurched forward as Jungkook suddenly slammed on the brakes. What are you doing? Do you want to kill me? Yin asked sharply. Her heart was still pounding. A cat crossed the road. There's no way I would hit it, Jungkook defended himself. He had nearly run over that cute creature. If you can't focus, I can replace you. I don't want to die anytime soon. I still have a lot of dreams beyond just being your wife in this disgusting marriage, Yin retorted bitterly. Hey, Jungkook was now very upset. He quickly pulled the car over to the side of the road. Once the car came to a complete stop, his eyes locked onto Yin. What do you mean by saying that? Jungkook asked, his voice tense. For some reason, her words stung deeply. This disgusting marriage. Jungkook really hated hearing those words. Yin scoffed beside him. What? Is there something wrong with what I said? Yin challenged him, facing him directly. This marriage is indeed disgusting to me. I never imagined experiencing a marriage like this. It's the most miserable thing that's ever happened in my life, she said again, her tone cold. Jungkook fell silent, his previously tense jaw relaxing. Instantly, he was frozen, staring at Yin. Her eyes, the look in them, once again made Jungkook uncomfortable. A moment ago, he wanted to get angry and respond, but now his tongue felt tied. Yin's gaze now was the same as it had been that night, and now Jungkook knew. He had truly hurt the woman who was with him now. Letting out a soft sigh, instead of engaging in an argument like he usually did, for some reason, this time he chose to remain quiet. Yin kept staring at him sharply, waiting for a response that never came from Jungkook's mouth. Silence enveloped them, with only the faint sound of passing vehicles breaking the stillness. Yet, nothing was more unsettling than the silence between the two of them. I'm really tired, Jungkook. Yin's voice was calmer now, but it cut even deeper. I don't even know if I still have a reason to hold on. Jungkook swallowed hard, his chest tightening. Her words were like daggers piercing directly into his heart. But now, he remained silent. For the first time, he felt that anything he said would only make things worse. I don't know what to do anymore, Yin continued, her voice now trembling slightly, though she still tried to appear strong. want it all to end. I want my life back to how it used to be. I want to go back to being myself, without having to think about all of this. Jungkook turned his gaze to the window, trying to hide the expression on his face. What did Yin mean by wanting to end it all? His heart felt heavier than ever. Once again, he found himself thinking more and more about Yin. He knew, even though he didn't want to admit it, everything was his fault. His selfishness, his indifference, and his habit of refusing to compromise with Yin, even though now she was his wife. Yin. Jungkook finally spoke, his voice soft. I'm sorry. Yin looked at him, surprised to hear those words. Sorry? For what? She asked sarcastically. Just saying sorry won't fix anything. Jungkook fell silent once again, accepting the reality that he couldn't refute his wife's words. Not only couldn't he, but he also no longer wanted to create a bigger commotion. Without saying anything more, he started the car again and continued their journey. On the other hand, Yin, sitting beside him, quietly glanced at Jungkook. Truthfully, his earlier apology had truly surprised her. Jungkook apologizing? If Yin thought about it, it was something almost impossible for someone like Jungkook to do, yet he had done it. Finally, you're here. Suzy greeted happily as Yin and Jungkook arrived at her house. I thought you wouldn't come because you're still busy honeymooning, Suzy teased, earning agreement from the other cousins who looked excited to see them. Yin and Jungkook only offered faint smiles in response. Although it was Yin's first time gathering with Jungkook's cousins, she quickly adapted to the atmosphere. Understandably, as a CEO, Yin was skilled at engaging with others in a warm and pleasant way. Beside her, Jungkook smiled faintly, relieved to see that Yin seemed to be enjoying herself. But suddenly, Jungkook seemed to remember something. His gaze wandered as if searching for something, or rather, someone. There were only his cousins present. None of the parents were around, including his own. The parents decided not to come, so it's just us, Gyujin, Suzy's husband, explained as if reading Jungkook's mind. Hearing this, Jungkook simply nodded and chose not to ask further. As time went on, the atmosphere among the family grew warmer. Plenty of food was served, all prepared by Jungkook's cousins. Yin began to feel a little guilty for not helping earlier. How about we watch a horror movie? That'll be fun, Suho suggested enthusiastically. I agree. I've got a great horror movie recommendation, Yuri chimed in, equally excited. Do you want to join us, Yin? Suzy asked Yin, who remained silent, not as enthusiastic as the others. Well, Yin hesitated, unsure how to admit that she was actually scared of horror movies. But of course, her pride wouldn't let her confess that, especially with Jungkook around. She didn't want to appear cowardly or weak. Maybe we could watch something else instead? Are you scared? Jungkook asked directly, his lips curling into an annoying smirk. In truth, he was a little irritated with Yin. He had been trying to talk to her since earlier, hoping their communication could improve after their conversation in the car, but Yin kept ignoring him. Instead, she busied herself chatting with his cousins. I'm not scared, Yin denied immediately. No way was she letting herself be labeled a coward. Then let's go, Jungkook said, tilting his chin toward the others who were already heading to the home theater room, subtly urging Yin to follow. Reluctantly, Yin followed along. Her heart was filled with anxiety. Sure enough, throughout the movie, Yin couldn't enjoy it. Sitting in the corner next to Jungkook, she spent more time closing her eyes than watching the terrifying scenes on the screen. While the others screamed and shouted excitedly, Yin remained silent. She was genuinely scared but refused to show it. Unlike Yin, Jungkook seemed completely unbothered, watching the movie with ease. Silently, he glanced at Yin. He could tell she was scared. A faint smile appeared on his lips. How cute, Jungkook thought. After what felt like 2 tortuous hours, the movie finally ended. Yin sighed in relief. As the night grew late, Jungkook and Yin bid their goodbyes and headed home. Yin rolled restlessly on the bed. Every time she closed her eyes, the images of ghosts from the movie popped into her mind. Even with her eyes open, she felt as though something was watching her, from the window, the door, or even the ceiling. She was scaring herself. Ugh, how am I supposed to sleep like this? Yin groaned in frustration. Stupid Yin, pretending to be brave. She scolded herself. Ever since she was little, she had always been terrified of horror movies. She hated those terrifying ghost scenes. And now, she couldn't sleep. She had to rest since she had an important meeting tomorrow. No matter how many times she opened and closed her eyes, she couldn't fully relax. Finally, she sat up, glancing at the clock. It was already 1 a.m. She cursed under her breath, realizing she had wasted precious time tossing and turning. Stepping out of her bedroom, Yin decided she needed someone to accompany her so she could sleep. Back then, her mother would always be there to comfort her, but now there was no one. Jungkook wasn't a good option. Her husband had made it clear from the start that he wanted to sleep in separate rooms, and Yin was still annoyed with him about that. So, with small steps, she descended the stairs, heading toward one of the maid's rooms for company. Yin began knocking on the door while calling out softly. The maid, who hadn't fallen asleep yet, was startled to hear the familiar voice. She quickly tidied her appearance and opened the door. "Oh, madam, is something wrong? Do you need anything?" the maid asked, confused. Yin grimaced, feeling awkward about her request, but she had no choice if she wanted to get some sleep. "Can you sleep with me tonight?" she asked. The maid was shocked and stared at Yin in disbelief. "Sleep with you, madam? But why?" she asked, puzzled. Over the past few days, it had become an open secret among the maids that Jungkook and Yin slept in separate rooms. However, this information was confined strictly to the staff. Jungkook had threatened to fire anyone who let this news leak outside the household. "I can't sleep. I need some company," Yin said as an excuse. She didn't want to reveal the real reason. She was too embarrassed. "But madam, I'm just a maid. It's not proper for me to sleep with you," the maid replied hesitantly. Yin shook her head firmly. "I don't care. I'm the one asking you to sleep with me, so you must agree. This is an order," Yin said decisively. "But madam," "I won't take no for an answer. Now come with me to my bedroom," Yin commanded again, her tone leaving no room for argument. Sighing, the maid obeyed and followed Yin back to her bedroom. Yin's commanding demeanor sometimes intimidated the household staff. Her strong leadership aura was undeniable, which explained why she had been entrusted with running the company. That night, Yin was finally able to sleep, comforted by the presence of a maid beside her. Early in the morning, the maid quietly exited Yin's bedroom, needing to prepare breakfast. Her beautiful mistress was still sound asleep, wrapped in a thick blanket. Carefully, the maid left the room, making sure not to make any noise that might wake Yin. As she turned to walk away, she was startled to find Jungkook standing there, glaring at her sharply. "Sir?" she said nervously, bowing her head. Jungkook's brows furrowed deeply. Why was a maid coming out of Yin's room so early in the morning? He had woken up earlier than usual today, planning to jog briefly before showering and heading to the office. "What were you doing in my wife's bedroom?" he asked coldly. "Forgive me, sir. I didn't do anything wrong. Please don't think poorly of me," the maid replied in a trembling voice. "Then what?" Jungkook demanded quickly, not one for small talk. Swallowing hard, the maid cursed her bad luck. Last night, it was her mistress who had looked at her sharply, and now it was the master's turn. "Madam Yin couldn't sleep last night. She asked me to stay with her. That's all, sir. Nothing more," she answered cautiously. "Stay with her? Why?" Jungkook asked, clearly confused. "I don't know either, sir. She just asked me to accompany her," the maid explained hesitantly. Exhaling slowly, Jungkook felt an uncomfortable pang in his chest. Why had she asked someone else to stay with her? Why not him? She even chose a maid over him? Seriously? Damn it, Jungkook thought, his guilt growing even heavier. "You may go," Jungkook said flatly, dismissing her. The atmosphere at the dining table was as usual, silent, without conversation. Jungkook was curious and wanted to ask, but he felt awkward, so he let it be. After all, Yin seemed fine now. The next day, Jungkook noticed another maid leaving Yin's bedroom. This time, it was a different maid. It hit Jungkook suddenly. Yin's strange behavior started after they returned from watching the horror movie at his cousin's house. Exhaling harshly, Jungkook realized that Yin must be too scared to sleep alone. His heart twinged at the thought that she chose the maids over him, her own husband. If only she had asked, he would have agreed without hesitation. Jungkook had already opened his heart to her. He regretted his actions from before, knowing he had gone too far. Deep down, Jungkook knew all of this was his fault. If only he hadn't said those cruel words that night, Yin would have turned to him instead of the maids. That night, Jungkook purposely avoided going to his bedroom first. He waited for Yin near her door. After a night of reflection, Jungkook decided he had to address the issue now, or it would drive him crazy. Right on time, Yin came out of her bedroom at 10 p.m., her usual bedtime. She froze upon seeing Jungkook standing by her door. However, she ignored him and continued walking downstairs toward one of the maids' rooms, with Jungkook quietly following her. "Why are you following me?" Yin asked once they arrived in front of one of the maids' doors, which was open. The other maids' doors were also slightly ajar. "Are you going to ask the maids to sleep with you again?" Yin was startled to realize that Jungkook knew about it. Lifting her chin, She boldly stared him down. And what if I am? It has nothing to do with you, does it? She replied sarcastically. Jungkook's heart sank. He could tell that Yin was genuinely disappointed in him now. Clearing his throat, he asked again, why didn't you ask me instead? Why the maids? Yin chuckled bitterly, disbelief evident in her eyes. Are you seriously asking me that? You are the one who didn't want to share a bedroom with me in the first place. Sorry to disappoint you, but I don't have any contagious disease, yet you treated me like I did, she said, her voice trembling. For the first time, the maids witnessed their employers argue, leaving them uneasy. Jungkook exhaled slowly, his gaze softening as he looked at Yin. I'm sorry, Yin. I admit I was wrong. I crossed the line back then. So please, from now on, if you need something, come to me. Don't go to anyone else. Yin smirked, unconvinced. It wasn't that easy for her to forgive him. She was too hurt and disappointed. I don't care. All I want now is to rest, and I'll ask one of them to sleep with me again. You can't, Jungkook objected. You're not allowed to do that anymore. He then shot a sharp look at the maids hiding in their respective rooms. If any of you accompanies my wife to sleep again, I won't hesitate to shoot you, Jungkook threatened. Naturally, his words terrified the maids. Jungkook, what's wrong with you? Have you lost your mind? Yin snapped, clearly upset. I'm trying to fix our relationship, Jungkook replied calmly. Fuming, Yin stormed off, stomping her feet in frustration. Jungkook smirked faintly, realizing for the first time how adorable his wife could be. Why hadn't he noticed it before? Jungkook followed Yin back to the second floor, but she refused to let him into her room. She quickly locked her bedroom door from the inside, leaving Jungkook standing outside. Yin, open the door. I know you're afraid to be alone. Let me stay with you, Jungkook shouted from outside. I don't want to. Just go away. I'd rather sleep alone. Being with a ghost is better than being with you, Yin yelled from inside the room. Jungkook scoffed at her words. As usual, Yin was incredibly stubborn. In the end, Jungkook went back to the master bedroom. But what was actually happening inside the room? Ugh, Jungkook is so inconsiderate, Yin grumbled in frustration. How was she supposed to sleep now? She was still scared. The images of those ghosts were still vividly stuck in her mind. No matter how hard she tried, Yin simply couldn't fall asleep without someone beside her. Meanwhile, Jungkook paced restlessly in his room. He couldn't stay calm, his mind preoccupied with thoughts of Yin. He was worried that she wouldn't be able to sleep and might end up getting sick. Screw it if she refuses me, he finally muttered before storming out of his room. Once again, Jungkook stood in front of Yin's bedroom door, knocking persistently. Yin, open the door, let me in. It was late at night, yet the couple was causing a commotion. But who would dare to intervene? No way, Yin's sharp voice responded from inside. Jungkook sighed in frustration. His wife was so stubborn. Open the door, or I'll break it down. I'm not joking, he warned in a firm voice. Inside, Yin ruffled her hair in frustration. What was her husband even trying to do? I'm counting to 3. If you don't open it, I'll break it down. 1. Jungkook started counting. Yin glared at the door, groaning in frustration. 2. Panic set in, and with an irritated stomp of her foot, Yin cursed under her breath. Damn you, Jungkook. With no other choice, she hurriedly walked to the door before her crazy husband could actually follow through with his threat. She knew he wasn't bluffing. Finally, the door swung open, and Yin's angry face greeted Jungkook from the doorway. But he didn't care. Instead, relief washed over him as she opened the door and let him in. She wasn't about to let her bedroom door get damaged. I'm sleeping here, Jungkook declared, leaving no room for argument. Without hesitation, he climbed onto Yin's bed, the familiar scent of her vanilla perfume filling his senses. He liked it. Noticing Yin still standing at the door, Jungkook shrugged. Why are you standing there? Come to bed. Yin let out a resigned sigh and slowly walked toward the bed. She was annoyed that Jungkook was beside her now, but at the same time, she felt an incredible sense of relief having someone to sleep with tonight. Don't try anything to me, Yin warned, narrowing her eyes at him. Jungkook chuckled lightly. I won't, even though I could do anything to you, considering I am your husband, he teased with a playful wink. Jungkook laughed when he saw Yin's face turn red, her eyes widening in shock. With a huff, Yin grabbed a pillow from beside Jungkook and placed it in the middle of the bed as a barrier. Don't you dare cross this line, she snapped. Your body better stay on your side. Yeah, Jungkook replied, still chuckling. Besides, it wouldn't be fun to try anything while you're asleep. No challenge, he smirked, making Yin grit her teeth in frustration. Yeah, Jungkook. Jungkook laughed again. If arguing with Yin used to feel annoying, for some reason, now her sulking face looked absolutely adorable to him. Alright, just go to sleep. I won't do anything to you, unless you want me to, Jungkook said, his playful smirk still in place. Yin glared at him. I would never want you, so stop dreaming, she snapped harshly. After saying that, she immediately turned her back to Jungkook and forced herself to sleep. Meanwhile, Jungkook let out a faint smile. Lying on his back, he stared at the ceiling for a moment before his eyes grew heavy, and he eventually drifted off to sleep. That morning, the sunlight filtering through the curtains woke Yin from her sleep. She blinked slowly, feeling an unfamiliar warmth beside her. As her consciousness fully returned, she was utterly shocked to find herself hugging Jungkook tightly, her face resting dangerously close to his broad chest. Her breath hitched, and her heart pounded wildly. Panicking, Yin quickly released her hold and scooted as far away as possible to the edge of the bed. She peeked at Jungkook, who was still sound asleep, his breathing steady, seemingly unaware of what had just happened. Yin patted her chest, trying to calm her racing heart. Oh my god, did I really just hug him? She murmured softly, her face turning crimson with embarrassment. Thank goodness he's still asleep. If he found out, I'd die of shame. Yin rubbed her face in frustration, trying to shake off the overwhelming embarrassment flooding her. Taking a deep breath to steady herself, she carefully climbed out of bed, moving as quietly as possible to avoid waking Jungkook. However, just as her feet touched the floor, his husky morning voice rang out from behind. Where are you going? Yin froze in place. Nervously, she turned around and saw Jungkook still lying down, but his eyes were slightly open, gazing at her sleepily, making her heart race even more. I'm going to the bathroom, Yin replied hastily, trying to hide her nervousness. Jungkook nodded slowly and closed his eyes again. Seeing that, Yin quickly rushed to the bathroom, her steps hurried. Once inside, she leaned against the door and let out a relieved sigh. That was close, she muttered while staring at her reflection in the mirror, her face still flushed red. Meanwhile, outside, Jungkook, who had closed his eyes again, was actually holding back a small smile. He had been awake for a while and had felt Yin's embrace in her sleep, but he chose to stay still and pretend to sleep, not wanting to make her feel even more awkward. So stubborn, but in the end, she still seeks warmth, he thought to himself with a small smile before drifting back into sleep. As evening approached, Yin returned home exhausted. Work had been overwhelming lately due to a big project she had taken on. Yin knew Jungkook was already home, as she had seen his car in the garage earlier. When Yin opened the door to her room, she was taken aback. Her room was so clean, her belongings were gone. Panicked, she rushed to open each wardrobe and found that none of her clothes were left. Where are my things? She muttered, confused. Annoyed, Yin stepped out. This is definitely Jungkook's doing. Without knocking, Yin angrily opened the door to the master bedroom, which Jungkook was now occupying. Her eyes widened when she stepped inside. Her belongings were all here. Jungkook, what did you do? Yin asked angrily, just as Jungkook walked out of the bathroom. I asked the maid to move your things to our bedroom. Now we're going to sleep on the same bed under the same duvet. No more sleeping apart, Jungkook said nonchalantly. I don't want to, Yin retorted, fuming. Yin stamped her foot, planning to grab a medium-sized bag she knew was filled with her skincare and accessories. But unfortunately, Jungkook was quicker. He snatched the bag and placed it on top of a tall wardrobe, where Yin couldn't reach it. Jungkook, give it back. Ignoring her, Jungkook headed to the door and locked it, placing the key on top of the wardrobe so Yin couldn't get to it. Yin's eyes widened. What is wrong with him? She thought angrily. Yin, we need to talk, Jungkook said calmly. I don't want to talk to you, she said, glaring at him. Jungkook let out a tired sigh as he approached. Earlier, he had instructed the maids to move all of Yin's belongings into his room, which was now their room. He wanted to start a proper and healthy married life with Yin, and the first step was to sleep in the same room. Yin, sit down for a moment. Calm down, okay? I'm sorry, baby, Jungkook said with regret. He realized how foolish he had been. He should have apologized and fixed things from the very beginning, but his ego and pride had made the problem drag on for almost 2 weeks. Yin took a deep breath, closing her eyes. Now, she had to act maturely. She agreed, as she didn't want the issue to drag on either. Yin sat on the sofa, and Jungkook smiled, then moved closer and sat beside her, though still keeping a little distance. Jungkook looked closely into Yin's eyes. He only now realized how beautiful her bright brown eyes were. Her nose was small and sharp, with full lips that looked so seductive. Jungkook could imagine how sweet it would be if he kissed them. Stop. He had to focus first. I'm sorry, Yin. I won't get tired of apologizing until you forgive me. I realize I was wrong, and I regret it. Jungkook paused for a moment, staring deeply into his wife's eyes. I want to make things right. I want to start over properly. I want to build a happy marriage with you. I want to be a good husband to you, a husband you can rely on. Yin remained silent, her heart slowly warming in a way she couldn't stop. From Jungkook's eyes, Yin could tell he was sincere in what he was saying. I don't know when exactly, but my feelings for you started to change. It hurts so much when you're far from me. I feel like a useless husband when you rely on others more than you rely on me. I want to take care of you, and I want to see you smile happily. But I realize that your constant anger with me is also because of my mistakes. So, I want you to forgive me, and let's build the home we've always dreamed of. I beg you, please give me a chance, okay? Yin remained silent. In front of her was a Jungkook who, despite being so proud and having high self-esteem, now looked vulnerable and was pleading with her. His pride was completely gone, and his arrogance had disappeared somewhere. Yin couldn't deny it. She was touched. In fact, she had started to develop feelings for him little by little. From the moment Jungkook suddenly asked for forgiveness when they were in the car on the way to his cousin's house, to when Jungkook started trying to get closer to her at the cousin's house, even though Yin had deliberately kept herself busy. And also what happened last night, when Jungkook actually cared about her and didn't want her to sleep alone. And tonight, when Jungkook was sincerely apologizing to her. Yin couldn't deny it. She was happy, no. She was extremely happy about the change in her husband and his willingness to build a harmonious family with her. Slowly, Yin nodded. I forgive you, Jungkook. I'm also tired of our situation. As you said, I actually want to build a happy marriage too. Actually, my dream has always been that when I get married, I want it to be a one-time thing, not marriage just to get divorced, Yin said with a sweet smile. Jungkook's heart swelled with relief, pulling Yin into his embrace, warm and comforting. This was their first hug. Yin smiled, hugging Jungkook just as tightly. Finally, they had managed to get through a tough marital storm. Then Yin smirked, you're lucky because it means I won't kill you. Jungkook furrowed his brows, loosening his embrace and looking at Yin in confusion. You wanted to kill me? Yin smiled mysteriously. For a month, I actually gave you a month to change, but if you didn't, I was going to file for divorce. The problem is, our parents might not agree, so if I couldn't divorce you, there would be no choice but for me to just kill you. Jungkook smirked with a mischievous grin that grew wider. Oh, so you want to kill me, huh? But why did you hug me that night when we slept together? Doesn't seem like the action of someone who wants to kill, does it? He teased, his gaze challenging as if enjoying the awkward reaction from Yin. Yin, feeling embarrassed, blushed. She didn't know how to explain the strange feelings that suddenly emerged when they slept together last night. It was just a reflex, and I didn't realize I did it, she stammered, trying to come up with an excuse. She really didn't expect Jungkook to be awake at that time. Jungkook didn't let it slide. His smile turned more mysterious, his eyes narrowing slightly. If that's the case, it seems like you need a punishment for your threat. He moved closer, his voice soft but laden with meaning. Yin, still feeling shy and unsure of how to react, nervously looked at him. Punishment? What do you mean? She asked, her voice trembling slightly. Jungkook smiled widely, and that punishment is. Jungkook paused for a moment, making Yin even more confused and nervous. Make love with me tonight, right now. Yin's eyes widened as she suddenly felt Jungkook's lips kissing hers. So this was the punishment? Yin smiled for a moment before finally closing her eyes, surrendering to Jungkook's kiss. Unconsciously, her hands now traveled up to his neck, gently caressing his hair. And finally, for the first time, that night they truly made love.